So I have a presentation that I'd like to show everybody for all of everybody that's new. Every year we do this tax classification hearing, and it's a few things that you need to do. One is to decide if it's going to be a single tax rate or a split tax rate. That's the main thing. There's also a few other things that I'll go over on the slide, and I can start presenting that to you now if you're ready.
Denise?
Yep.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, go ahead.
Could you just explain what a split tax rate is?
Sure. At split tax rate, we have it's in the slide, but we have the levy. So what happens is you have your taxes, and the split tax rate will have. Right now, the tax rate is going to be $14.93. If you split it, all it's doing is just dividing it up. You're not getting any more revenue by splitting the tax rate. A lot of people think if you split it, then you're going to have more revenue coming in. That's not the case. You're just dividing it up a different way.
And by splitting it, you mean putting
more money
tax on the corporate?
Yes, I'm sorry. So when you split it, it would go to the commercial, industrial, and personal property owners. Okay. Any questions before I start?
No, take it away. Thank you.
All right. Bear with me. It's the first time I've done this. Okay. So for fiscal year 2021.
Are you able to share your screen, Denise?
Hold on a second. Let me see. Share screen. There we go. Share. Is that working? There we go. Can you see that?
Looks good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the Board of Assessors consists of James Riley, the chairperson, Carolyn McCarron, and Shirley Ann Senior.
Denise, you got muted somehow.
There we go. Okay. So again, the purpose of the hearing is determine the percentage share of the tax levy that each class of property will pay. The minimum residential factor is determined by the makeup of the tax base. The factor allows the SelectBoard yourselves to shift the burden towards commercial, industrial, and personal property, and that's 150%. Tonight, again, you need to make that decision, and again, by shifting it does not mean that you have more revenue collected. And again, I just went over what the shift is. And the classification, there are 5 classes for the classification. You have your residential, your open space, commercial, industrial, and personal property. So a lot of the terms that we'll go over is new growth, the levy limit. And so what the levy limit is, it's the maximum dollar amount the town can raise, which is the prior year's levy plus a 2.5%, new growth, and the debt exclusion. And there's going to be a few things you're going to vote on tonight. You're going to vote on either a single tax rate, a split tax rate, a minimal residential factor, and there's also what's called a small commercial exemption and a residential exemption. And again, I'll go over that in the slides. So for the residential this year, we have 81% of the revenue is residential, and 18 plus is the commercial, industrial, and personal property. And here's the breakdown: 81.33 for residential, 6.7 for commercial, industrial is 9.3, and personal property is 2.7. 2.67.
Denise, what is open space?
Open space, we do not have any in Norton. It is, I think I have it listed in here, let me just double check. It's mainly, there's only probably 10, maybe 10 towns that have it. And of course, I don't have it in this, oh, here we go.
That's all right, but what would it include?
Nope, it's right here. I have it right here for you. So the open space, it's land that is not otherwise classified as chapter land. Chapter land is land that you can apply under, and it's either recreational or like farming. And you have to have a certain amount of land to be able to participate in that. So if there's land out there that's not considered that, we don't have any of it. Not that I'm aware of anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does.
Okay. So just going back, I just did, a few graphs, things like that, so you can really take a look at what's going on. So let me just go back up. Bear with me. Okay, so again, did that. So this year's valuation, as you can see, we have the total amount, which is, again, consists of the residential, commercial, industrial, and the personal property. And the way it's calculated is oh, this is my old one, sorry, is you take your actual levy, divide that by the total assessed value, which is all the properties in town, and that comes out the tax rate. The tax rate, actually, I updated this earlier, is actually $14.93, not the $14.85.
Denise, can you explain how that math works? Because I struggle with this when trying to figure it out on my own. We're dividing 40 million by, or call it 41 million by 2.7 billion.
Right.
So is that like a percentage that comes through? I'm just trying to understand how we get to 14.
No, so you divide it by that, so you're going to take the levy, divide it by the assessed value, and then you're going to divide it by 1,000.
Okay.
And you'll come out with the $14.85, which is the tax rate. These numbers are off, I'm sorry, I think I couldn't get onto my other Zoom, and that's where my new one is, but, so you take that money, divide it by 1,000, and you come out with the $14.85.
All right, thank you.
Total assessed value is all the values. It's all the residential, commercial, industrial, and personal property. That's the total.
Got it. It worked for me that time, so thank you for clarifying.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, sometimes it takes a couple of times. So what I did is I just kind of give you an average from last year to this year. The way the market's going, obviously all the values are going up. And when we do assessments, we assess by the market. And we're always 2 years behind. So our assessments are always a little bit behind what the market's doing. So what I did is I took last year's average single family home, which was $372.90. This year it's gone up to $382,978. And we take the average because what we do is we take that value and divide how many parcels we have. And that's where that's where I come out with the average amount of the $382,978. Based on the $14.85 tax rate, it's $5,687 for the average family tax bill. And the commercial will be around $16,000. And that's the average. That includes, the ones that are out there for $5,000 all the way up to the, the 90 million. I put in the top 10 taxpayers. And you can see we have an Asylum, we have the East Street Apartments, and the list goes down.
So question for you, Denise. On the TPC, I saw on the list, they have multiple properties. Are you ganging those together, or is that just the biggest one?
So they sold, I think it was them sold one of their parcels recently. So that one's just on the Arnold Palmer Boulevard.
Okay.
That's the main one.
Hey Denise, is there any chance that you can move this into presentation mode so we can just see it bigger? I do it's in the lower right-hand corner near the scaling. You'll see that little screen in the upper right, in the lower right-hand corner.
I don't see that.
It's where, see where it says comments?
Yeah,
Go one, keep going to the right, keep going,
yep,
going, keep going. That one, slideshow.
all right. Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect.
And to move to advantage, you just, well, can you just go back there? I'm sorry, I just wanted to look at that last slide, at the top.
I'm going the wrong way now, hold on.
And I apologize, everyone, my camera is not working.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Two of those accounts are personal property. You have Mass Electric and T-Mobile, a personal property.
Okay.
And just to let you know that if it's a warehouse like an island, they are exempt from personal property. To houses, so we do not get personal property from them.
Okay.
Okay. And what I did is I went through the surrounding towns to get their tax rates. Most of them, you'll see they'll split. I did Attleboro, Easton, Foxborough, Mansfield, North Attleboro, Raynham, and Taunton. All Bristol County except for Foxborough. And as you'll see, there are split rates except for Easton. And in my opinion, we're closer to Easton than we are to the other towns because of the makeup of the town. You know, Attleboro and Mansfield, North Attleboro, they have malls and plazas and main roads with all the businesses on it. Easton, it's more like they have like 123 and 138 are considered, in my opinion, equal. Just to let you know, that's just my opinion. And you'll see what the tax rates are. You know, for instance, Attleboro is their residential rate from last year was $14.56, and their CIP was $21.09. Okay.
Now, question, Denise, real quickly, is anyone available if there's a commercial property that doesn't have a tenant or anything? Is there any abatements or anything that's ever done for if they're not fully functioning or?
So we ask for the income and expense forms every year.
Yep.
If they don't give it to us, then we
Abatement.
will assess them. If they give it to us, then we adjust it. But yes, they can file for an abatement. Absolutely. And that's the abatement season, which I call it, is from January 1st to February 1st.
Okay.
After that, if it's the deadline, there's nothing we can do. It's all state regulated.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Do we see a property like Great Woods Marketplace? Do we see their property owner kind of filing for abatements a lot?
They file every year. And usually they're denied because they don't give us the information. It'll be curious to see what happens this year.
Okay.
We'll definitely, I'm sure they're going to file for an abatement. We'll have to take a close look at it. And hopefully they'll send us in the information that we need.
All right.
Okay? Okay, so new growth. New growth is, if you're not familiar with it, is what we need, for the tax dollars. So any new commercial building coming into town, if it's just vacant land, that building that's put on it is new growth. So we try to collect as much new growth as we can. And also, anybody that does additions or finishes their basement, anything like that is all considered new growth. And this year, our new growth is $874,899. And part of that was still from Elm Island, which they're done after this year with the new growth.
Has your group ever done any analysis on by zoning? Meaning we see more growth when it's village core versus just commercial, straight commercial. I'm assuming we see more tax revenue or so forth out of that, or is that, you guys just haven't gotten into that deep by zoning?
No, not by zoning. I mean, we look at the neighborhoods, but the new growth is, I mean, are they building there? That's where the new growth is gonna come in, not just by the zoning.
Okay.
But are you saying like if they change the zoning, that's new growth?
Yeah, I mean, something, I'm gonna surrender my question because it's, I think I was going down a rabbit hole that really I'll get lost in.
No, we don't look at it that way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
My question, Denise, the residential growth of only 133,000 seems low. Is that?
Not really, because what happens is that you have to think about what are people doing? You're adding a single family house. The land is already there, so we're not getting new growth from the land. We're just getting the new growth from the house itself. If there was already a house there and they tore it down and built a new house, it's only partial new growth.
So this is no new growth, the tax. This is tax revenue, not valuation of new residential.
Right, but it comes out from the valuation.
Yep, I see. Okay. That makes more sense.
And I just did a couple of graphs for you so you can kind of see what's going on. From 16 and 17 and up, it really started to grow. 19 was a lot of alnylum. So you'll see it really skyrocketed then. And then after that was only a couple of, a little bit of new growth from them. And just a couple more graphs to show you. I started at the end of 16, so I just used the years that I've been here. So from 17 through now, you'll see that the residential is going down and the commercial industrial is going up, which is kind of how we want it to go. And just another chart, just a visual. Okay, so what I did here is for the split tax rate, I gave you a few ideas of what it would be. So if it was just single tax rate, 1485, and then if you started to split it, if you wanted to split it, here are the different scenarios. So if you went with like 1.10, the residential rate would be 1451, and the CIP would be 1633. Just to give you an idea, if you want the split tax rate.
What's the average CIP valuation?
I don't know if I have that. Hold on 1 second. I think that's on.
Say tax rate, like valuation.
Hit the 1 million. Okay.
Did you get that?
Yep, I got it right there. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I sent you a sheet of all the businesses.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. And this is just another one. If you did split it, what the tax bill would be. So again, if a residential was 1451, their average tax bill would be 5,557, and the commercial at 1633 would be 7,745. So you see where the differences in the taxes are.
So basically, for every dollar that we shift off of a residential tax bill, it impacts a CIP tax bill by $13.
Absolutely, yes. Any questions? Again, the open space discount, we went over that. We don't have any in Norton that I'm aware of. And then tonight is just what the board needs to consider. So it's going to be a residential exemption, which I'll go over, and the commercial exemption. So a residential exemption is usually in communities, usually the cities. You'll find that in Boston and maybe Cambridge, places like that. You never find a residential exemption in a local town.
Can I just say something on that, Denise?
Absolutely.
So a residential exemption, like they have in Boston and Cambridge, as Denise said, they're trying to have not as many absentee landlords. So if someone lives in the home and they rent out, if they have a 3-decker and they live on one floor and rent out 2 other floors, they get a residential tax break because they actually live there.
Thank you. Yes.
I don't think anyone has any triple deckers, Mike.
Maybe 1 or 2.
And then we have the small commercial exemption. Again, as far as I know, we don't have anybody in town that qualifies for this. So the exemption is up to 10% of the property valuation. The eligible businesses cannot have more than 10 employees, as certified by the Department of Employment and Training. If it's just one business, the whole building has to qualify. And the exemption doesn't go to the business, it goes to the building owner. Okay, so tonight you need to select a minimal residential factor in either granting a residential or a small commercial exemption. And again, you have to decide if you want to shift it or not. And that's it. That's my presentation. Any questions?
I think Renee said it before, Denise. We know that the state was dragging their feet, but we really appreciate all the information you got us in advance to this meeting. I know last year, I think, Jack, you guys didn't, it was a little delayed just because of all that. I think that's what Renee said.
I think we asked for things that weren't typically asked for as well.
Okay.
So it was able to provide whatever we needed, but I don't think we anticipated what we had. So this has been
The best thing too, Mr. Chairman, is I had a chance to speak with Denise separately, and I got to ask all my stupid questions, and she did not get me too funny or awkward eyed.
Always here to help.
Very good. Any questions from the board? Any thoughts on the tax break? Do we want to entertain a split? Do we want to stick with the single? What are our thoughts on that?
If I don't mind, Mr. Chairman, may I?
Sure.
I think the town is doing a great job. We've obviously, being a member of the EDC as well, our target has been always to try to get to a 75-25% ratio. I think the town is doing a great job trying to get there at 81% right now. I would hate to see us hinder that until we get to that point by splitting the tax rate. So I would tend, even though I understand the economic impacts that are going on individual residents right now, I think the commercial growth in our town and investment is too important for our future. And I think I would support not splitting and keeping it a single tax rate.
Thank you.
If I may,
Yes, Brett.
I would agree with Mike regarding that, especially after our meeting several weeks ago where we voted to give discounts for licenses. To me, it would seem hypocritical to give it with one hand and take it away with the other. And any good we did for the businesses would be detrimental by a split tax rate. And I know that it's not going to be a good year for anyone, but I think now is not the time for us to split. And also, as Mr. Toole mentioned, we've been working very diligently over the past years to try to increase our industrial commercial development to get a stronger tax rate that is not residential. And now I don't think it's the time to shoot ourselves in the foot.
I agree. I don't think we want to rob Peter to pay Paul. I just see this as, like Mr. Bramwell said, it's a bad time for everyone. I don't think we should push that on to Michelle.
I agree with everything you guys have said. I think we're making great progress. I think for now, the impact to our businesses in town is very much outsized from the relief that the residents would get. So I go back to that, $1 to $13 calculation. For me, that says a lot. And given where the economy is at, I don't think anyone is prepared to take on such a big hit. Seeing as how we're all on the same page, Chair would entertain a motion to approve a residential factor of 1.0.
So,
Second,
All right. Go to the roll. Meg?
yes.
Michael?
aye.
Brad?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Denise, the next thing was the residential exemption.
The residential exemption, again, you'd have to vote on that, whether you want to implement that or not, but again, I don't think it really applies to the town, but you still have to decide.
Okay.
I'd like to, I'll leave the discussion. I mean, I don't think it's really, as Denise said, I don't think it really applies to us. We're not people that live in our town, and correct me if I'm wrong, Denise, we don't have many people outside of this town that own property. Is that an accurate statement?
I believe so. I believe everybody, lives here, so.
So I'm not even sure if there's any more discussion than that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I mean, I feel comfortable with you making the motion. If we have to, we could always discuss it after
Okay.
the motion's made.
Do you want to handle both this and small commercial at the same time?
That would make sense, yeah.
All right,
If we can.
Yep, Chair would entertain a motion to create a residential exemption and a small commercial exemption.
So moved.
Second,
On to the discussion. Seeing no discussion, we'll go to the vote.
Now, are we voting to
So I
make
think
or voting against it?
the motion was in the affirmative. So if we do
So
not want
we
to
vote against it.
we want to vote against it.
I understand.
Okay.
Just want to clarify.
Yes, the arcane mechanisms of public meetings are always fun. You never do a negative thing, I guess.
Correct.
Meg,
So a yes is saying I'm against it?
you want to say no
No.
to not create one.
No.
Michael?
nay.
Brad?
No.
I too vote no. So motion fails unanimously. Denise, does that tick all of our boxes for this evening?
That is all I needed. Yes, thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Denise, thank you and the
Thank you,
board for
Denise.
all the hard work.
Anytime, if you guys have any questions, feel free to call me. I'm more than happy to help.
Thank you.
Thank you to your board as well. Great work as always.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Right.
Motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
There you
I was just suggesting.
go. Chair would entertain a motion.
So, right, you sounded good.
Very authoritative.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second,
The roll. Meg,
yes.
Michael. I think he's having connection issues. Brad, Yes. To the yes. So our public hearing is closed. Looking at our agenda, unless, Mike, you have anything to share on the town manager's report, we'll jump to warrants in a minute.
Nope, I'm all set.
All right. I approve the payroll warrant PR 21-11 for the week ended November 14, 2020. Warrant dated November 19, 2020, the amount of $1,568,164.52. And invoice warrant AP 21-21 dated November 19, 2020, in the amount of $638,150.85. Our next meeting is set for Thursday, December 10th. That will be at 7 p.m. We'll try to stick to this new schedule. Is there any other business to come before the board this evening?
Yes, I'm hearing reports that Comcast is dropping WCBB in favor of Trioni and Bristol County. So we address that, and I have YouTube TV, which I like the Boston stations, and I like all the Boston department stations, but something has to be done with Comcast switching the schedule. Plus, I was listening to the Norton Water Sewer Commission meeting, and then it dropped off. Yep.
Peter, thank you. That reminds me of, we'll jump back a little bit. We did receive a resident note today about Comcast's recent announcement of instituting data caps in addition to changing the channel lineup. So, Mike, I have to imagine we don't have a lot of pull in this situation where it is a multi-state directive created by Comcast, but if by chance we could get our Comcast account rep to rough them up, let them know our dissatisfaction. 1.2 terabytes is not a lot these days. I'm frequently bumping up against that, and with everybody working from home, this is just a nominally greedy money grab by them, in my personal opinion.
Was that a letter someone got at their house, Jack?
No, email from someone in town.
If someone has it, if you can forward that to me.
Yep.
Yes, it was from a Mr. Nick Johnson, if I'm not mistaken, and it was, we actually all got the notice within our latest bill.
It was by a Daniel Smith, and
Yeah.
he sent it to Representative Howitt, as well.
It's a great business. I just noticed I got my bill for the Cape, and we're not even down there. It went up $15 this month, so.
They're doing it predominantly in the Northeast, and if you bump up against it, you're looking at a $30 fee at a minimum. It's just bad business in my opinion.
Mr. Town Manager, is this something that the cable, the cable commission does or looks at, or I'm not sure what their mission is?
Well, as the chairman was saying, I mean, they're involved in negotiating the 10-year license when it comes up. But in between, I mean, they obviously can help us with their support. So I'll reach out to them to get a letter from them also.
Where are we in the latest agreement with them?
I believe we're in year one.
Sorry.
It's not a year one, it's year two. It's in the beginning of I believe, a 20-year lease.
Oh, 20-year lease, not a 10-year lease.
For anyone who is watching from home, just to try to preempt any questions, Verizon Fios is no longer expanding their fiber optic network in any communities outside of densely populated. For a number of years, I believe dating back till 2012, if not 2014, somewhere thereabouts. So all of these rumors that Fios wants to come in and the town is holding them back, there's no truth. We would welcome them with open arms. It's just not a economically viable option for people living to run their own fiber. A lot of these businesses are heavily investing in 5G technology. We kind of need to wait for that. Municipal fiber is something that's come up a few times, but I believe the initial investment on that was deemed unfeasible by the cable commission the last time I looked at that. I don't know if you remember anything about that, Mike?
I believe you're right. The cost was substantial.
Which is why no one else wants to come in and run it. You know, Norton is not a very dense town to cover the area. It's a lot of money, and the ROI just isn't there, unfortunately. So we're left with Comcast or satellite. So your options are not great at this time.
Mr. Chairman, it's just a point of inquiry. So does that mean there is no other internet service provider allowed in town? Can the town look at doing, I mean, there are several towns that do their own internet service providing. Are there options, or are we locked because we just signed the contract that they have the Comcast, Xfinity has the exclusivity?
No, we're not locked by the contract we have with them. We are open to other suppliers, but we can't find a supplier who is willing to put the money into an infrastructure to service us. It's just not worth the money to bring the wires.
And Brad, from your experience on this board, have they ever looked at the town providing any of that infrastructure themselves? Being its own internet service provider?
If I told you for sure, I'd be lying. But it seems to me that discussion has come up many times, especially with the cable committee, and it's the lack of funding. It would just be so astronomical to have the town wired that if a private company can't afford to do it, we certainly can't, because we don't even have the personnel or the equipment to do it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I don't want to, as you know, Brad, I get slapped around pretty good because I throw out some ideas that have been exhausted before, and I don't want to waste anyone's time, so I just was more curious if we've gone down that road before.
I think it's
I know we've spoken many times, and for several years we pursued Verizon, and just to be slapped in the face, because if people called Verizon to ask about it, they would tell them that we wouldn't let them in, which was just the opposite. We were courting them, and they would slam the door in our faces.
Yeah, I think laying fiber in the town is very, very expensive. But I'm curious if another coaxial service or another internet service provider, I don't know the technical side of there being two systems or even a town offering that. I know that there are towns in Massachusetts, I believe Northborough is one of them, that offer their own internet, but I don't know, I'll surrender that I don't know the ins and outs of that.
There are a few towns that I've heard they're basically like unicorns, where you can get gigabit speed for $60 a month, and it's reliable, it's fast, and that would be great. I don't know, Mr. Town Manager, if we can invite Mr. Cord to a future meeting just to kind of share his knowledge. I know he's the chair of that committee, and he can kind of recap for us all the trials and tribulations that he and his group have.
Yeah. And also Jason is very knowledgeable.
Awesome. Okay. Super fantastic. Is there any other business come before the board other than Comcast stinks?
I just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Very well said. Thankful to my fellow board members. Thank you for your time and effort for our lovely town. I hope everyone is able to stay safe, stay home, and stay healthy over the Thanksgiving period. I know we don't have Mr. Zahner on, but our COVID cases have jumped up substantially over the past week. It's a very concerning trend. I think we're up to 78, Mike?
Yes.
With multiple home-based clusters, and we're heading in the wrong direction, unfortunately.
Not worth it, take chances now with the vaccine on the horizon, so just stay safe.
That's right, a vaccine is on the horizon, so I want everybody to follow the rules, stay safe, and be vigilant, and despite the silver, the stuff's being used, so try to, wear a mask and be safe and vigilant. Don't worry, a vaccine is running out after this, it can be back to normal next year, be it spring or summer, right?
Hope so,
Right.
Peter.
Right?
Mike, do you know our positive test rate? I know the state has that 4% target threshold. I don't know where we fall in that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Jack. I'll see if the Board of Health has that and get that for you.
All right. Do you think Chris could put out an alert tomorrow, just advising folks of the increase in cases and encouraging caution and responsible behavior over the holiday?
Sure. Yep.
That'd be great. All right. Seeing no other business to come before the board, Chair would entertain a motion to close after 46 minutes.
Right. That's the shortest meeting I've been at.
And what's the Renee's not here. So,
See, not me. I move the motion.
Excellent.
And I second it.
Wonderful. Michael,
Aye.
Meg,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I too vote yes. Everyone have a very happy Thanksgiving. Brad, take some strong painkillers and go to bed. And drop some cookies off probably tomorrow.
That's right, happy
Okay.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks very much.